we started not to do it this way, but the thing that moved me was I wanted to share it with our e-church. Well, I guess we ought to go home. Please be good to our people. Please help them. The humility that you see is real. The weight is unbelievable.
And look, on this channel, we do not kick a man while he's down, because one day is TD Jakes, the next day is you. And before we get into this video, if you don't like black people, if you don't like black issues, if you don't like black talk, get the stepping. TD Jakes, Kirk Franklin, Marvin Sapp, either they have a church in Texas or they live in Texas. And not one time have they mentioned about the Carmelo Anthony case. Not one time. You got thousands of black people being missing every day, going missing every day in Houston and in Dallas. Not one time they mention this. You got black women dying in Texas hospitals because doctors are murdering them on purpose while they in labor. Not one time did they mention it. Make it make sense. And then it all made sense. They all work for the CIA. I mean, look at this picture. This is definitely an agent. The Sean Diddy Combs trial is scheduled to begin on May 5th, 2025, which is Monday. Jury selection is expected to begin on that date, and the trial itself is tentatively set to begin on May 12th, 2025, according to court proceedings. The trial is taking place in New York City and is expected to be open to the public. And how ironic. You see how these pastors try to play in our faces. You see how these pastors think we slow, make it make sense. When you decide to sell out your own people, when you decide to use the Bible to manipulate your own people, it won't last forever, you big dummy. And TD Jakes, you're no different from Marvin Sapp. And when I saw this clip, it really made me sick to my stomach. Run the tape.
There were 10 lepers. There were 10 coins. There were 10 virgins. What is this obsession that God has with 10? Bring me a 10. A collection of dimes. A collection of dimes is everything. God is obsessed with 10. Because if I bless the 10, I bless the whole. If I taste the soup and there's no salt in the spoon, there's no salt in the soup. When you lift up the tithe and say, Lord, I've given you the tithe, you're saying, God, all of the 90 is blessed through the representation of the tithe, because 10 brings you into wholeness. You can go no higher than 10. God says, you've robbed me. You've robbed me in dimes.
I mean, the whole time, the real enemy. And instead of them putting that money back into the black community, these Negroes at Diddy parties, these Negroes buying mansions, these Negroes buying jets, these Negroes living the good life. I'm tired of these cowards. The black church brings in $19 billion a year. These pastors have mansions, yet we have no black hospitals. The black church brings in $19 billion a year. These pastors have luxury cars, all the luxury cars, yet we have no black banks. The black church brings in $19 billion a year. These pastors have all the latest designer clothes, yet we have no black schools. Make it make sense. And to the other agent, Marvin Sapp, I ain't forget about you. This coward kidnapped and robbed his church members and had the audacity to go on a Caucasian media outlet and play the victim again. Run the tape.
Fort Worth Church of Gospel is adding more security because of death threats towards its bishop. It's on the heels of this viral video about an offering during a church service in another state from last year. It is a case that also has lessons about social media responsibility. Our Marvin Hurst sitting down with the bishop to talk about the controversy and shares his plans to close the door.
Bishop Marvin Sapp and his Chosen Vessel Church in Fort Worth have become targets.
The attacks that I've received on social media, the phone calls that we received at our church, I mean, literally, profane, cussing me out, death threats, all kind of crazy stuff, and all of this, I was like, man, this all happened over me asking, people to give a nominal fee of $20.
The Gospel Star gave us copies of the voicemails. After listening to them, we decided they were too vile to give voice to. In the meantime, Sapp says they did not report the matter to police. Instead, they have hired off-duty officers to increase security.
And I told y'all over and over and over again, all these people on the same team, especially these black pastors, not all of them, but most of them. This coward went on CBS to complain, to cry about black people when CBS tried to crucify Carmelo Anthony on live TV with those interviews before he even go to trial. I told you, I'm tired of these cowards. And they love to use God's name to manipulate the people, and they never speak on no real shit. And all that so-called power they have, when it's time to have our backs, they nowhere in sight. Make it make sense. And you have to realize why. They don't pay taxes. So why would they mess that up by speaking up for black people? I told y'all in a lot of my videos, once you decide to speak up for black people, you not getting no sponsors. You not being on television. No one is backing you up. No one is cutting you a check. It don't work like that. Matter of fact, check this out. TD Jakes' speaking fee typically ranges from $150K to $200K. The lower end usually applies to virtual engagements, while the higher end is for in-person events in the U.S. Make that make sense. And I told y'all, TD Jakes is an agent, so it's time for us to stop giving these fake pastors our money. And I say fake because you do have some real pastors that care about our people. But Jesus had a job, right? Jesus was a carpenter, right? Well, tell these pastors to get a goddamn job. Go get their CDL license and take off on Sundays and preach. And I promise you, your sermon will be way better because now you finally in the real world. So shout out to all my truck drivers. And this trial with P. Diddy is going to be the craziest shit we ever seen. And I keep telling my people over and over and over again. I'm going to say how Juvenile said, oh, you want to be Hollywood, huh? Oh, you want to be a famous pastor, huh? Oh, you want a mansion, huh? Well, it never ends well. Either they go ruin your name or they will murder you. Tell me I'm lying. And look, we might not ever be rich. We might not ever have a mansion. We'll never make $200K just from preaching at a church. But I tell you this, at least we have our peace and our freedom. At least we can look ourselves in the mirror. At least we can make these YouTube videos with confidence. So to you, Mr. TD Jakes, welcome to hell, my boy. I'm out.